This is my 8th video blog for our practicum this spring, and this time around I talk about Standard 6. An educational leader promotes the success of every student by understanding, responding to, and influencing the political, social, economic, legal, and cultural context. As usual, I'll touch on the functions here in just a little bit. This time around I got to sit in, which to me was really interesting, on disciplinary referrals, and I didn't know that I'd be able to sit in necessarily. I guess sometimes I'm thinking too carefully, as though it would be some kind of legal conflict of interest for someone like myself, who's not an administrator, to actually sit in when a principal goes over a disciplinary referral with a student. But apparently that's not a big deal. I got to do that. And this administrator told me beforehand that it's the least favorite part of her job, because obviously administrators wish that these things didn't happen. They're there for a reason, and you know, if there is a behavioral issue, then they should be used. But I think most of us would agree that we don't want to have to deal with them, but it's part of the job. How this happened was, I sat in a chair, and basically it was right next to the student, which was across from the principal that I was dealing with, one of the assistant principals at Topeka High. And each time I would introduce myself and tell the student what I was doing in there, and how, even if they'd never heard of me or never met me or anything like that, that I was not there for any reason specifically dealing with them as an individual, rather that I was just getting some observation time in, and following, shadowing, whatever you want to call it, with administrators doing different things throughout the semester. So we cleared that up to hopefully squash any anxiety that this unfamiliar face might have provided for the students. But once that happened, the principal read through the referral that had been written. I sat in for 4 or 5 of these. So each time the principal would read the referral, address the rules that were broken, and assign the consequences, after hopefully getting through to the students why they weren't supposed to do what they've done, why the rule that they broke is a rule. The things I took away from this, the really big thing was, none of these were major offenses. They were, you know, teachers having come to the end of their patience on having a kid put their head down in class. They refuse to put their cell phone away. They answer a phone call during class, which to me is just ridiculous, but that's beside the point, I guess. And, you know, I guess those are I mean, not major, but I suppose a little bit serious. But they're not things that kids are probably going to get suspended for. And the goal here, as far as communication, was for the students, or the goal on the principal's end was for the students to understand what they did wrong, how they could have handled it better. For example, a girl said that she answered a phone call in class because it was she was expecting to hear from someone in her family because of an emergency situation that had come up earlier in the day. And I don't know if I overstepped a boundary here, but I interjected and I just said that, you know, ideally we'll have parents call the office and have you called out, but if parents call straight to your phone, because that's the way that they know that they can get to you most quickly, then, you know, if you absolutely must take the call, then take it, I guess. But the first thing you need to do is get up and get out of the room, and then when you have the chance, you need to tell that teacher, hey, I'm sorry, this was an emergency. I know that that was not what I was supposed to do. I know that that's against the rules. I know that it's disrespectful, and I'm very sorry for that, but here's what was going on. I have no idea if the student understood or agrees that that's the right thing to do, but those are the lessons that we try to teach these kids. And the reason for that, and my last point here, is because of behavior modification with future implications. The principal made a really good point about putting your head on your desk and just trying to go to sleep. And this isn't the point that I made. Like I said, the principal's the one that said this. She said, well, you know, some days if I don't have a whole lot to do in here, what would the head principal say if she came in here and I just had my head on my desk sleeping? You know, you've got to do the work you're supposed to do in class, and if you don't think you have work to do, then you should do, or you should ask questions to enrich your knowledge or find ways to occupy yourself in the event that a teacher gets done early, which was not the case. This was in the middle of class when they should have been working, or this kid should have been working. But I think it was really important for the administrator to apply how this is relevant maybe later in their lives. And again, you hope that the kid gets it, but they don't necessarily always. The functions of Standard 6 that apply here are A and B, the advocating, for children, families, and caregivers, primarily children. Children, I don't usually use that word. Kids, I guess, same thing, I suppose, because I teach high schoolers. But anyway, the administrator was advocating for the kid in this situation, or kids, because they're trying to straighten them up a little bit, as this is their last stop before they go out into the real world, whether that's college, military, workforce, whatever it may be. And so, it's a service that we're trying to provide almost for these kids. And B, to act to influence local, district, state, and national decisions affecting student learning. That could apply to a lot of the different activities that all of us have done this semester. Any decisions that are made by the student or the teacher or the administration need to focus on student learning and instructional time being utilized, and the students capitalizing on all the possible ways that the teacher lays out for them to learn in the classroom.